The cafe was full, yet the man sitting at the corner table had never felt more alone. Soft music drifted through the air, mixing with the clink of cups and quiet laughter of people who still believed life would be kind to them. Outside, cars passed by, headlights flickering like moments no one bothered to keep. Inside, warmth wrapped around everyone except him. He sat perfectly still, hands resting beside a cup of coffee he hadn't touched since it arrived. His coat was expensive, his watch subtle but priceless, yet none of it mattered here. In this small cafe, he was just another stranger staring into silence. Ethan Hale had learned long ago how to disappear in plain sight. Across the room, near the counter, a young woman stood nervously twisting the strap of her worn handbag. Her voice was low, careful, as she spoke to the cafe manager. Every few seconds, her eyes drifted toward the entrance, where a little girl waited near the wall. The girl's knees bent slightly, as if standing itself was too much effort. She hugged a small backpack to her chest, its zipper broken, one strap stitched back together with white thread. Her shoes were scuffed, her coat thin, and her face far too pale for a child her age. Still, she tried to stand straight, just like her mother had taught her. When the girl's legs finally trembled too much, she looked around. Most tables were full. Some people noticed her, then quickly looked away. Others pretended not to see it all. Her eyes landed on the empty chair across from Ethan. She took a slow breath and walked toward him. "Mister?" Her voice was soft, uncertain, like she feared the word itself might be wrong. Ethan blinked, pulled from his thoughts. "Yes," he replied, surprised. She pointed gently to the chair. "Can I sit here for a little bit? My head feels funny." For a brief second, the cafe noise faded. Ethan noticed how small she was, how carefully she stood, how one hand rested against the table as if she needed its support. "Of course," he said immediately, pulling the chair out. "Please." Relief washed over her face. She climbed onto the chair slowly, swinging her legs once before stilling them. She folded her hands in her lap, as though she didn't want to take up too much space. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'll behave." "You don't need to behave," Ethan said gently. "You're welcome here." They sat quietly. Ethan noticed the way her breathing wasn't steady, how she pressed her palm lightly against her chest when she thought he wasn't looking. "My name is Lily," she said after a moment. "Mama says I should always tell people my name." "I'm Ethan," he replied. She nodded, satisfied. "Mama is talking to man about work," Lily explained. "Sometimes they say yes. Mostly they say no." Ethan glanced toward the counter. The manager shook his head slowly. The woman forced a smile anyway. "She tries very hard," Lily added, "even when she's tired." "You're tired too," Ethan observed. Lily shrugged. "I get tired easily. The doctor says my heart works extra." He felt something tighten in his chest. She opened her backpack and pulled out a small stuffed rabbit with one ear sewn back on. "This is Buttons," she said proudly. "Mama fixed him when we couldn't buy another." "That was kind of her," Ethan said. Lily smiled faintly. "Mama is kind. She just worries a lot." At that moment, the woman hurried over, eyes wide. "Lily," she said softly, "I told you to stay by the door." She turned to Ethan, embarrassed. "I'm so sorry. She shouldn't bother you." "She didn't bother me," Ethan said calmly. The woman hesitated. "Thank you," she said. "I'm Clara." "Ethan." Clara rested her hand on Lily's shoulder. "They don't need help today," she said quietly. "But that's okay." Lily looked up at her mother. "It's okay, Mama." I sat down. Something in Ethan's chest shifted. "We should go," Clara said. She looked back at Ethan. "Thank you for your kindness." As they walked toward the door, Lily turned around. "Bye, Ethan," she said, waving. "Thank you for letting me sit." He raised his hand slightly. When the door closed behind them, the cafe felt different, quieter. Ethan looked down at his coffee and took a sip, even though it was cold. He didn't know why that small question stayed with him. He didn't know that this was the first step toward a life he never planned. All he knew was that a little girl had asked for a place to rest, and he had said yes. Ethan returned to the cafe 3 days later, without realizing he meant to. He told himself it was habit, that he always came here when meetings ended early, but the truth felt heavier than that. He chose the same corner table, the same chair, and ordered the same coffee. When it arrived, he barely touched it. His eyes kept drifting toward the door. The bell above it rang, and for a moment his breath caught. Then a couple walked in, laughing, and the moment passed. Ethan leaned back, disappointed with himself for caring. He was halfway through leaving when he saw them. Clara entered first, holding the door open with her shoulder. Lily followed slowly, her steps smaller than before. She wore the same thin coat, but today her cheeks looked flushed, and her breathing sounded faintly strained even from a distance. They sat at a table near the window. Lily climbed onto the chair carefully, resting her elbows on the table as if they needed extra support. Ethan hesitated. Then Lily saw him. Her face lit up instantly. She waved with both hands, nearly knocking over her backpack. Ethan found himself smiling back before he could stop himself. "Hi," she called softly. "Hi," he replied, walking over. "May I?" Clara looked up, recognition flickering across her face. "Oh, it's you." "Of course. Lily talks about you." "I do," Lily confirmed. "You let me sit." Ethan pulled out a chair. "How are you feeling today?" Lily shrugged. "Okay-ish." Clara gave a small, apologetic smile. She didn't want to wait at home, she said. "I had one more place to ask about work." Ethan nodded. "Any luck?" Clara shook her head slowly. "Not today." Lily swung her legs. "Mama lost her job because of me," she said matter-of-factly. "Lily," Clara said gently. "It's true," Lily insisted. "She stayed with me at the hospital too much." The words landed hard. "I didn't lose it because of you," Clara said quickly, forcing a smile. "I just needed time." Ethan watched Clara closely now. The tired eyes, the careful posture, the way she kept her voice steady, like it might break if she didn't hold it just right. "What kind of work did you do?" he asked. "Office cleaning," Clara replied. "Early mornings, late nights. I tried to manage both." She paused. "I failed." "You didn't," Ethan said quietly. Clara looked at him, surprised. Lily reached for her backpack and pulled out buttons, hugging the rabbit to her chest. "Mama says failing means stopping. We didn't stop." Ethan felt his throat tighten. The waitress came by, and Ethan ordered juice for Lily without asking. She accepted it gratefully, sipping slowly. After a moment, Clara spoke again, softer now. "Lily has a heart condition," she said. "Nothing dramatic, just expensive." Lily nodded. "My heart gets tired before I do." Ethan folded his hands together to keep them steady. "Is she getting treatment?" "Some," Clara admitted. "Enough to keep her stable. Not enough to fix everything." Lily leaned toward Ethan. "Mama says we'll be okay." Clara closed her eyes briefly. "I'm sorry," Ethan said. "That must be hard." "It is," Clara replied. "But we manage. We always have." Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just honest. "I have a job," Ethan said suddenly. Clara looked up. "Oh, I own a company," he continued. "We need someone organized. Flexible hours. Close to the hospital." Clara stiffened. "I don't want charity." "It isn't," Ethan said calmly. "It's work. Paid work." She hesitated, pride and fear battling in her eyes. Lily looked between them. "Mama, you're good at work." Clara swallowed. "I don't even know your last name." "Hale," Ethan said. "Ethan Hale." She nodded slowly. "I'll think about it. That's all I ask." When they left, Lily waved again. "See you soon?" Ethan nodded. "Yes." He stayed long after they were gone, staring at the empty chair across from him. For the first time in years, he felt useful, and for the first time, he hoped they would come back. Clara accepted the job 2 days later, though she barely slept the night before. She arrived early, wearing the only formal blouse she owned, hands folded tightly as if she might drop her courage if she loosened her grip. The building was larger than she expected, all glass and quiet efficiency, and for a moment she almost turned back. but Lily squeezed her hand. "You said brave people feel scared," Lily reminded her softly. Clara smiled and walked inside. Ethan watched from his office window as they crossed the lobby together. Lily waved at him through the glass, her smile bright but tired. He waved back, feeling something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Responsibility. Care. Something close to hope. Clara proved herself quickly. She worked carefully, asked questions, and never complained when her schedule shifted around hospital appointments. Ethan made sure it did. He told himself it was practical. He told himself it was temporary. He lied. One afternoon, Clara received a call that made her knees weaken. Lily's next test showed complications. The treatment they had been delaying could no longer wait. Clara sat in the stairwell. Phone pressed to her ear, trying not to cry where anyone could see. Ethan found her there. He didn't ask questions. He simply sat beside her. "I can't afford this," Clara whispered. "I barely started working. I can't lose everything again." "You won't," Ethan said quietly. That night, he made calls he hadn't made in years. Not to investors or lawyers, but to doctors, specialists, hospitals. He arranged the best care possible, using a name that wasn't his own. No press, no recognition, just help. When Clara arrived at the hospital the next morning, a nurse greeted her with a smile she didn't understand. "All arrangements have been made," the nurse said. "You can focus on your daughter." Clara felt dizzy. There must be a mistake. There isn't. She spent the day beside Lily's bed, holding her small hand, afraid to ask too many questions in case the answer vanished. Lily looked up at her. "Mama, why are you crying?" "Happy tears," Clara said, brushing them away. Ethan arrived quietly that evening. He didn't enter the room right away. He watched from the hallway as Lily laughed softly at something Clara whispered. The sound felt like forgiveness. Later, when Lily slept, Clara stepped outside. "It was you," she said, not accusing, not angry, just certain. Ethan nodded. "I didn't want you to feel like you owed me." "I don't," Clara said, "but I need to understand." Ethan looked down the hallway. "She asked me for a place to sit. I couldn't ignore that." Clara pressed her lips together, holding emotion back with sheer force. "You don't know what this means." "I think I do," he replied. The night stretched long. Machines beeped softly. Time slowed. Just before dawn, alarms sounded. Doctors rushed in. Clara froze, fear rooting her to the floor. Ethan moved instantly, guiding her to a chair, staying with her while the world blurred. Hours later, a doctor emerged. "She'll be okay," he said. "It was close, but she's strong." Clara collapsed into tears, relief breaking through months of fear. Ethan stayed until Lily woke. Her eyes fluttered open slowly. She looked around, then smiled faintly. "You stayed," she whispered to Ethan. "Yes," he said, his voice steady despite everything inside him shaking. "I stayed." Days passed. Lily recovered slowly but surely. Color returned to her cheeks. Her laughter grew louder. One afternoon, she tugged Ethan's sleeve. "Did you know families don't always start the same way?" she asked. "No," he said. "How do they start?" "Sometimes they start when someone doesn't leave." Ethan swallowed hard. For the first time in a very long life filled with success and loss, he knew something important. Staying mattered. Spring arrived quietly, the way healing often does. The air softened first, then the light. Trees outside the hospital began to bloom, their branches stretching as if they had been holding their breath all winter. Lily noticed before anyone else. She pressed her face to the window one morning and smiled. "They didn't give up," she said. Neither had they. Lily was discharged a week later. She walked out of the hospital slowly, holding Clara's hand on one side and Ethan's on the other. No reporters waited. No announcements were made. To the world, it was an ordinary day. To them, it was everything. Life settled into a new rhythm. Clara continued working, growing more confident with each passing week. She learned systems, schedules, responsibilities. She earned respect not because of who Ethan was, but because of who she was. For the first time in years, she slept without fear pressing against her chest. Ethan stopped pretending this was temporary. He attended doctor visits, school meetings, quiet dinners where Lily talked endlessly about colors, stories, and buttons of rabbit, now freshly repaired again. He listened. He stayed. One afternoon, months later, Ethan found himself back at the cafe. The same corner table waited. The same chair stood empty across from him. This time, he didn't sit alone for long. Lily ran ahead of Clara, her step strong now, her laughter ringing through the room. She climbed into the chair without hesitation. "Remember this place?" she asked proudly. "I do," Ethan replied. "This is where my family started," she said simply. Clara paused, emotion flickering across her face. Ethan felt it too, but neither of them rushed to define it. They ordered drinks. Lily chose juice. Clara chose tea. Ethan chose coffee, warm this time. As they sat together, Ethan realized something quietly profound. He had spent his life building companies, structures, futures. Yet the most meaningful thing he had ever built came from a moment of stillness, from choosing not to turn away. "Mr. Ethan?" Lily said. "Yes." "Do you know why I asked you to sit with you that day?" He shook his head. "You looked lonely," she said matter-of-factly. "Lonelier than me." Ethan laughed softly, the sound surprised out of him. Clara reached across the table, resting her hand near his, not touching, just close enough. "You didn't save us," she said gently. "You walked with us." "That changed everything," he replied. Lily grinned. "That's what families do." The words settled between them, not heavy, not forced, just right. Weeks turned into months. Lily started school. She ran during recess without stopping. She painted pictures of houses with 3 figures holding hands. When asked who they were, she smiled and said, "My people." Ethan framed one of the drawings and hung it in his office. One evening, after dinner, Lily climbed into his lap, holding buttons. "Do you think families have to share blood?" she asked. "I don't think so," Ethan said. "Good," she replied, "because I already chose mine." Clara watched him across the room, tears shining but steady. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep, Clara spoke quietly. "She thinks of you as home," she said. Ethan nodded. "So do I." They didn't promise anything. They didn't rush. They simply kept showing up. Years later, Ethan would often return to that cafe alone sometimes, sitting at the same table. But he was never lonely anymore. He carried laughter, memory, purpose, all because one small girl had asked a simple question, "Can I sit here?" And he had answered yes.